release came out in the SEC filing. Just to clarify a couple of details, the fundraising, did you have a precise figure that was raised with the share and bond sale?
I'm not sure actually what the final figure is, but inclusive of the green shoe, which we expect to be exercised, the amount raised is approximately it's just over $1 billion. So yeah, I think it's like 1.068 or so. But then you got to subtract banker fees and other things. I think net of fees, it's really super close to $1 billion.
Got it. Okay. And for U.S. taxpayers, what is the profit on your loan? Do you happen to know that figure from the early reporting?
That's actually an excellent question. I believe it's close to $20 million to include Yeah, I believe that it's somewhere between 15 and 20, but I'm not sure the exact number where it fits in that. But it's more than 15 because we've already done 2 principal and interest payments, yes. And then I believe there's something like $13 or $14 million of prepayment interest that we have to pay in order to pay the loan off.
Okay.
So when you I think it's something probably in the $17 million range.
Okay.
We could try to get a precise number for you, but that's that's pretty give or take $1 million approximately correct.
Okay. So some quick questions. 6 months ago, would you have thought it was possible, conceivable, that you could retire the loan this early? You're 9.5 years ahead of schedule, basically.
No, I actually I thought it would be quite difficult to raise the capital for Tesla. As you know, we were one of the most short-sold stocks on the entire market, so that was depressing our stock price quite heavily. In fact, I think there were times when we ranked as the most sold short stock in the market. And so that compressed the stock price and made it quite difficult for us to raise funding. And so the challenge, of course, that we have is we've got to balance the interests of investors and taxpayers. And the things that with the announcement of the profitability, that resulted in a fairly meaningful increase in the stock price, and the availability of the convertible debt market was also helpful. So we're looking at a situation where after earnings, and then we literally had done no work on this until the day after our earnings call. So because we didn't know how well. We knew it'd be well received, but we'd already kind of told people that we were going to be profitable. So I thought, okay, well, maybe the stock will drop after we announce the actual numbers, because that often happens. And then, but actually the stock went on quite a positive trajectory. So actually, right up until the earnings call, we'd done no work, as I mentioned, on financing. Didn't know what the reaction would be. We'd foreshadowed in fact, more than foreshadowed, we explicitly said that we expect to be profitable in the first quarter. So I thought, okay, we could actually see a stock drop. But since the stock went up and gave us quite a good stock price, we said, okay, we should take the opportunity to raise funding. Because there are times when the market is pessimistic and there are times when the market is optimistic, and obviously it's sensible to raise money when it's optimistic, but even then we weren't sure what the appetite would be for Tesla equity or convertible notes, and so we worked through the weekend and worked with the bankers and put together the financing round, and we're quite pleasantly surprised by the level of demand. In fact, both the convertible note and the equity were way oversubscribed. We started off looking at maybe raising around $700 million, and then we ended up increasing that to just over $1 billion because there was so much demand. And we improved the terms of the, in favor of Tesla, so we actually got quite competitive terms particularly for the convertible note.
So how quickly did this idea of retiring the obligation, the loan, so rapidly? Because you'd already cut it to 5 years.
Right.
This just came up last week, where you realized it was doable, that you could do it this fast.
Yeah, it was just last week. We really had done nothing. In fact, we would have had to disclose it if we'd done something in the earnings call, but we'd done nothing to raise around at all until we only saw the day after the earnings call, which I guess would be like 2 weeks ago, and put the round together and conclude the round in approximately a week. And it takes takes several additional days for the funds to settle. So the funds settled, funds transferred yesterday. Funds transferred today, and the funding went directly from investors to the DOE portion, so it didn't even go through Tesla. But even as late as last week, we weren't sure whether there would be enough demand for the Tesla common equity and convert it to pay off the DOE loan. Once we saw the demand level, which was very high, we're several times oversubscribed, we thought, okay, well, there's opportunity here to raise the amount of money that to raise more money and actually retire the DOE obligation, and for us to be the only car company in America that has fully paid back the government.
Tell me, at this point, now, because of this very rapid change of circumstances, we talked at the beginning of the month prior to earnings, prior to all this, and it seems so much has changed now in 3 weeks. Are you feeling at this point a little freer, a little more flexible now that this particular obligation is past the company?
Yeah, I do feel as though it is a weight off our chest. So we did get criticized quite a lot for taking government funding. Even though the first several years of Tesla's life was exclusively privately funded, and in fact, mostly from me. And I put my last money into Tesla in late 2008 just to keep the company alive. It was still a narrow thing.
With some of the restrictions that were imposed on you, there were restrictions on your personal sale of stock. Obviously, you would have had to run business plans, strategic plans by the Energy Department, just at least for tacit approval, I assume. Those things are obviously all gone now. Essentially, this other sort of oversight mechanism is gone. Is that correct? The DOE wasn't, the DOE was sort of insisting that we do anything that was all that bad. I wouldn't say we ever really had a significant disagreement with the DOE even. But it did complicate our ability to raise subordinated debt for things like inventory and transit. So we expect to be exporting probably 2/3 of our production, and so that's a lot of inventory on the water. The DOE covenants did limit our ability to raise subordinated debt. Now the DOE did say that they would work with us on that, but it was taking a long time to get that all sorted out. So it did give us some additional operational flexibility and agility, but I don't want to give the sense that the DOE was forcing us to do all sorts of bad things. That's not really the case. Well, should we think though of Tesla and as you as a little more unbound, a little more unchained now that you have this one particular obligation resolved?
Yeah, I think so. I think we definitely have we have more operational flexibility, but honestly, the biggest thing I feel is that we've relieved a moral obligation, and there were a lot of people that criticize us for having a government loan at all, even though we received the smallest loan of anyone. And I think we've done the most, and we've repaid it first. But nonetheless, we did receive quite a lot of flack for it, and it was kind of one thing people held against us. And some people, that was an issue in buying the car, even though obviously the other car companies got far more money than we did. And I just feel better having done it. Honestly, I did it because it felt right. That's the real reason.
Have you had any communication from the White House, from President Obama?
No, actually, no communication at all. Although I'm gonna do a photo op with the new Secretary of Energy. But I'm not sure. I mean, I assume he's been told, but I'm not sure if he has. And he he probably has more important things on his plate than this. But yeah. So.
Well, you've resolved this one major financial obligation that's gone. Because of the fundraising, you now have significant additional funds. I assume those are going to go toward both a successful Model X launch and go into the third-gen product as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think we actually have enough capital at this point to not need to raise any future funding, because the S is cash flow positive. We have more than enough money to get the Model X done, and then I think we'll generate enough free cash flow to fund the roughly $1 billion necessary to create the affordable mass market third generation vehicle. That could turn out to be wrong, but I think that is the case. So I think as long as there isn't some force majeure event, that drains our capital, I feel pretty confident about not needing to raise any additional funding from any source and just relying on internal cash flow.
Did you say $3 billion was needed for the third-gen product?
No, sorry, just $1 billion.
Oh, $1 billion fund. Okay.
Billion. Not much.
well, with this change in fortune though that's happened inside of a month in your cash position, your reserves, strategically, what changes for Tesla? Does anything significant change at this point in terms of the timetable you were already on?
Well, I mean, there's probably a slight acceleration of things, but I don't want to promise anything, because I've always had a habit of maybe being too optimistic on time frames.
Okay.
So I'm trying to recalibrate myself to be more accurate.
All right. A couple of quick things, because I know you're probably under a tight schedule here. Just to knock off a couple of things. Since we spoke, there has been some additional chatter in Silicon Valley and from different quarters that other companies should take a look at Tesla. And Apple obviously comes to the top of a lot of lists. The number of articles I've read saying Apple should put some of their cash into you. Other companies come up. What do you make of those discussions along those lines? Is this something that is there anything to those suggestions, or is it just speculative talk?
Well, I can say that we've not had any discussions with Apple.
You can say that.
Yeah, we've not had any discussions with Apple, and I mean, no. I mean, apart from working with them on, iPhone integration and stuff like that, we've had no financial discussions with them. But
and how about Google?
I mean, Tesla isn't looking to be acquired. The thing is that when I started out, I stated a very clear mission that we were on, which is to create a compelling mass market electric car, so a compelling, affordable car. And the way things are right now is that I think with the Model S, you've got a compelling car, but it's too expensive for most people. And then you've got things like the Leaf, which is cheap, but it's not great. And what the world really needs is a great, affordable electric car. So I'm not going to let anything go. Doesn't matter what people offer. I'm not going to let anything go until I complete that mission.
Great. And I know you probably have to get in and give that big check to the Energy Secretary.
Right.
But do you? Yeah, I know you've been asked about this on the Zuckerberg issue with the FWD. Is that something you can talk about? Why you decided not to continue participating with that organization?
Well, I think that. I think the right way to accomplish political objectives is to argue an issue on the merits. I mean, I think we want a political system that is less cynical over time, not more. And even if one can play to the cynical elements of the political system, I don't think one should. At the end of the day, the people of the country will get the politicians they deserve, and they'll, whatever behavior we encourage in our politicians, that is the behavior that they will have. So, I think we should insist on a less cynical political system, and not do anything that would encourage it to be more so.
Okay. Interesting stuff. How are you feeling today? Just fairly upbeat, I would assume?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I'm always sort of worried about, okay, well, what's the next sort of bad thing that will happen? But if you don't, as a friend of mine says, if you don't enjoy the ups, what's the point of having them?
Okay.
So.
But is this coming faster than you expected, I guess? I mean, all of the series of events now. I mean, the level of profitability, the funds that you've raised, the repayment of the loan. Is this ahead of even your timetable?
Yeah, absolutely. This is all happening way faster than I thought it would.